I used to really buy into the idea of change your thoughts to change your life. I tried to have more positive thoughts. I tried to replace or change my negative thoughts. I tried to challenge my thoughts. And I always felt like I was just faking it. It didn't feel like it was helping. It just felt like I was playing pretend. And not in a like fake it till you make it way, just in a like, why am I doing this way? And then I started to learn about the idea of metacognition, which is when I began to realize that you don't need to change your thoughts to change your life. You need to change your thoughts about your thoughts to change your life. And when I had that realization, everything clicked for me. In this podcast episode, I want to talk about why your thoughts, your beliefs about your thoughts have the potential to completely direct your life without you even knowing it. Welcome to Grow with Intention, the podcast for people who want to create a life that feels good. So metacognitive beliefs are your beliefs about your thoughts and feelings. And as it turns out, they play a huge role when it comes to your overall happiness. Here are a few extremely common, extremely unhelpful metacognitive beliefs. Analyzing my problems will help me to find answers. Worry is uncontrollable. Thinking something makes it true. Rumination helps me to understand. So if you hold metacognitive beliefs like those ones, it significantly and positively predicts symptoms of anxiety and depression. People with more unhelpful metacognitive beliefs have more negative emotions compared with people who don't have those same beliefs. So your metacognitive beliefs, or your thoughts about your thoughts, play a massive role in your happiness. So here are a few more helpful metacognitive beliefs that I personally have developed over the past few years that have made a really big difference in my overall happiness, that have really taken off the pressure of change your thoughts, change your life, think positive, and have made me think totally differently when it comes to happiness. Metacognitive belief number one: analyzing, ruminating, and worrying almost never leads to helpful insights. This took me so long to get my head around because I used to think if I had some kind of problem in my life, if I just like sat with it, analyzed it, thought of it from every angle for long enough, that I would gain this fresh perspective, this new understanding of whatever it was that I was fixating on. And that new understanding would be the revelation that I needed in order to move forward. Until I started to notice that I rarely, if ever, actually got any good insights from analyzing, puzzling, and fixating on my problems. Instead, those insights and those realizations would usually come at times when I was chill, when I was thinking less, when I was pretty unbothered about the problem that I had. If anything, when I puzzled and analyzed, it actually seemed to block insights from coming. So I developed a more helpful belief that insights are not something that you can make happen. You can help them along, you can create space for them, but you cannot squeeze them out through worry and rumination. Instead, they are something that you have to let happen to you. For me, just this one realization has been life-changing. I used to get so frustrated if I had a problem and it would come up in my mind and be like, oh, like I need to worry about that to figure it out. And then I'd be like, why is this not working? Now, whenever I find myself feeling like agitated and worrying about something or fixating on something, I ask myself, is this thinking leading me to any good, helpful answers? Are insights going to flow if I keep on following this thought path? Almost always the answer is no, and I try to move my attention elsewhere. Then I try to lean more into a feeling of surrender, which I made a whole podcast episode about. I'd recommend listening to that one after this one, because surrender mode is almost always a more helpful space to be in that sort of invites those insights in. Worry and rumination simply just doesn't get you there. The second metacognitive belief that I have developed that's really helped me is if you feel like trash, you will think like trash. Think of your feelings like fuel for your brain. So if your brain is being fueled by resentment, agitation, anxiety, frustration, sadness, despair, it is going to spit out low quality thoughts because it's running on low quality fuel. Garbage in, garbage out. Which is why a rule that I've tried to implement in my life has been, if I feel like trash, I don't take any drastic actions. Like I don't act on my thoughts. I don't trust my thoughts. For example, if I feel really resentful in a moment, my brain is saying like, you need to have a hard conversation. Like a confrontation is needed. It's not that I'll disregard that and be like, no, that's not true. I just need to put up with it. But I'll wait until high quality thoughts come in and make me think in a little bit more of a rational way before I have any difficult conversations. And when I'm in that better mood, I usually have higher quality thoughts. I usually feel a little more connected to whoever it is that I'm talking to. And I truly believe that people can smell resentment. When you're in resentment and you're in defensiveness, you're not going to approach the conversation well. That's just one example. If I am feeling really agitated by a problem in my life and I can feel myself like ruminating about that problem and my brain is insisting I take some drastic action to get rid of that problem, I won't listen to my brain because almost always when I act on ruminative thoughts, it doesn't go well. Instead, I sort of note that thought down, and when I am in a better mood, I might revisit it, but also when I'm in a better mood, I might might think about that thought and be like, how ridiculous, I'm not doing that. That's not the answer. But when my brain is running on good fuel, I can sense check that potential action and be like, is this actually a good idea, or was I just fueled by my bad thoughts? The way George Pransky puts it is, emotions are a quality control device that measures the quality of our thinking. And instead of acting on low quality thoughts, you're better to wait until the fog has cleared and then take action. The next helpful but unhelpful sounding metacognitive belief that I've developed is that thoughts are something that occur to you. They're not something that you make happen. Initially, this sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're not in control. But when I realized that I am not the maker of my thoughts, I don't choose my thoughts, I felt a sense of relief. I was like, oh, okay, these are just thoughts that I'm being served. I don't cook them up in the kitchen with my bare little hands. They come to me pre-baked. And this also helped me to understand why cognitive behavioral therapy, which is seen as sort of this gold standard therapy, has sometimes been unhelpful for me. If you've ever tried the CBT way, which is replacing a bad thought with a good thought, you can sense the difference in energy between the original, negative thought that came your way and the energy of your replacement thought. That unhelpful thought has come to you. It has been delivered to you pre-baked. It was cooked in the little kitchen of your mind. It's a gross cookie that was made in that kitchen. Even though it's a gross cookie, it's a real cookie. It was made in the kitchen. But the new thought that you're trying to replace it with, it didn't come from the kitchen. You've tried to create a positive thought. It's almost like a plastic cookie. A part of you has tried to create the essence of a thought, but you do not have access to the kitchen. Thoughts are made in the kitchen. This is such a weird analogy, and I'm hoping it hits someone the right way. Thoughts are given to you. They are not something that you create. This isn't a hopeless sentiment because you can prompt thought. You can create space for helpful thoughts to be delivered by your kitchen. For example, if I'm journaling, the approach that I always take is that if I'm asking myself a question, I don't try to force answers to appear. Instead, I kind of drop the question in my mind and then I wait for the answers to come from the kitchen. While I didn't necessarily create those thoughts, they are prompted by me. And when I tried the CBT approach, what I found myself doing is not really having the patience to wait for thoughts to be cooked in the kitchen and delivered to me, and instead trying to create my own thoughts outside of the kitchen and then being like, why isn't this working? I ended with a weird analogy. I'm hoping it hits someone and that it makes sense to someone. It got a little bit meta there. I end all of my podcast episode with Rex of the Week if you want to dive a little bit deeper into today's podcast topic. The first recommendation of the week is The Inside Out Revolution by Michael Neal. This book is really all about the nature of thought, and it can prompt you to develop some more helpful metacognitive beliefs. Once again, you don't want to force into your brain new metacognitive beliefs and try to tell yourself new metacognitive beliefs, but you certainly can prompt the kitchen in your brain to generate some new and helpful metacognitive beliefs by reading books like these. The next recommendation is another podcast episode, which is called The Power of Surrender. I think that it goes along nicely with this podcast episode. I'll have it linked in the show notes or on the screen if you are on YouTube as well, so that you can watch that next. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you soon.